Greetings to all fans of the StarCraft universe. In this short video we will touch on a topic that has been exciting my imagination for a long time. Namely, we will talk about the planet Gantris VI, the same planet where the colonist prisoners from Earth were originally sent. First, a little background. In the 23rd century, the United Powers League, the UPL, was founded on Earth. To maintain public order and impose its interpretation of freedom and justice, the League carried out mass purges and arrests of an unpleasant part of the world's population. Large numbers of prisoners were exiled to the so-called Doran Routh research facilities. He was a very influential scientist and businessman who was obsessed with the idea of colonizing worlds beyond the solar system. By that time the resources of the Earth and nearby planets were depleted, and the prospect of exploring new horizons looked very impressive and, most importantly, very profitable. 40,000 prisoners were placed in 4 supercarriers: the Naglfar, the Argo, the Serengo and the Reagan. The ships were piloted by the advanced Atlas computer system. The goal of the journey was the distant planet Gantris VI, but as we know from the history, there was a computer glitch, the coordinates were lost, and the colonists wandered through warp space for 28 long years, until they eventually found themselves in the Koprulu sector. So, what do we know about Gantris VI itself? And practically nothing. If you turn to Wiki, the answer will fit in 3 lines. The only official source of mention in this planet is the manual to the first StarCraft game, which basically describes all the above backstory. If we dig deeper and connect logic, we can draw some additional conclusions. Considering that the program was initially planned as a 1-year journey, but ultimately dragged on for 28 years, we can conclude that the Gantris star system is located much closer to Earth than the same Koprulu sector, and is presumably on the route to the latter, deviation plus or minus a couple of parsecs. If the speed of the starships was constant throughout the entire route, then with the help of simple arithmetic calculations it can be established that Gantris VI is located at a distance of approximately 2143 light-years from Earth, assuming that the Koprulu sector is located at a distance of 60,000 light-years from Earth. The number 6 in the name of the planet indicates the sequence number of its orbit relative to the Gantris star. There are at least 6 exoplanets in this star system. Unfortunately, it's not possible to calculate the orbital period, the daily interval of the planet and the gravity. I'm not that much of an astronomer. Taking into account the climatic conditions, we can assume that if they don't correspond to those on Earth, but at least are close to them. Because on a planet with too strong temperature fluctuations, it would be simply impossible to live, even with the use of advanced equipment, and the terraforming process will take too much time. Of course, the scum of society was sent to colonization, who could be sacrificed, but in addition to that, colossal financial resources were spent on equipment, ship outfitting, warp drives, and Dorn himself, first of all, had the goal not just of exiling prisoners, but namely to organize a colony, and as quickly as possible. As Brian Kindragon, one of the main writers of StarCraft II Winds of Liberty and the main writer of Heart of the Swarm, explained in the conversation with the developers, the colonies from Earth were initially equipped with a lot of means to support life and rapid development of the colony, including frozen embryos and fertilized eggs in cryochambers, as well as advanced cloning technologies. In addition, settlers had ways to increase food production to accommodate a surge in population. It would be a shame to send them with all their ammunition simply into the mouth of a volcano, or the Arctic desert with a temperature close to absolute zero. This means that according to the initial analysis from Earth, the planet should have been located in the so-called Goldilocks zone, or habitable zone. Since we don't know the initial size and luminosity of the Gantris star, it is accordingly impossible to determine the exact location of the planet relative to the star. But if we rely on the formula already known in astronomy, that the average radius of the habitable zone is equal to the square root of the star's luminosity to the sun's luminosity ratio, we can assume that if Gantris is a yellow dwarf, then Gantris VI is located at a distance of about 1 astronomical unit or 150 million kilometers, similar to the Earth from the Sun. If Gantris is a red dwarf, then the radius of the planet's orbit will be about 4.5 million kilometers. If it's a white giant, then the orbit's radius is about 2.5 billion kilometers. Although the presence of habitable worlds in the orbits of giant stars is less likely. Also, this world had to be promising in terms of mining, otherwise why would this operation be carried out at all? There is also no data regarding the flora and fauna of the planet, but again, if we consider that this exoplanet was originally chosen with more or less favorable conditions for life and at least a small amount of oxygen, then it should have water, plants and at least some primitive wildlife. Given the relatively short distance from Earth, it's likely that this planet has already been colonized by the United Earth Directorate. There are even fan fictions on the internet describing the history of this star system, which took place parallel to events in the Koprulu sector. The planet was under the control of the Directorate, but at one point, with the support of a third force called the Mikoyan Alliance, the colony rebelled. A civil war broke out, which resulted in the signing of a peace treaty and the formation of the so-called Gantris coalition. The United Earth Directorate, saddened by a failed military campaign in the Koprulu sector, decided that in the face of a possible threat from alien races, it would be prudent to grant the Gantris system independence, and it would serve as a buffer zone between the Koprulu sector and Earth in cases of aggression from the Zerg or the Protoss. Well, friends, I've told you everything that I found about this planet, as well as highlighted my speculations and reasoning. But what you think, I will be interested to know in the comments. So don't hesitate to write. If you agree with my opinion and the information provided, please like it. If you don't agree, like it too. I tried my best when making this video. In general, share your emotions and thoughts about what you have seen. Well, I went to prepare material for the next video. Fortunately, you gave me a lot of topics to discuss. See you soon.